All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here. I've got this rectangle right here showing me 5 comma 4. That gives me the length and the width of it. We're going to find the perimeter and area of each of these figures. So the perimeter, remember, is the distance around the outside. So all I do is I'm going around the outside. So here, 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 and here. So what's this distance over here, you ask? Well, if it's 5 tall, it's 5 tall no matter where you look at on the object. So this is also 5 tall, which means it's also 4 wide. We call this the length and the width. So if I want to know the distance around the outside, I just have to add all those distances together. I have to add 2 of the lengths, so it's both my 5s, those are your L's, and I have to add 2 widths, or 2 W's. So here, my lengths are 5 and 5, and my widths are 4 and 4. So when I add these together, that gives me 10 and 8. So the total perimeter, P for perimeter, is 18 inches. 18 inches. So again, that's the distance around the outside. Now the area is slightly different. The area is how much space the object covers. So if I look at this rectangle, I know that it is 4 units wide and 5 units tall. So I want to think about how many total rectangles that is. Well, I can just take the length, which is 5, times the width, and that's going to help me figure this out. If I look here, there's 5 rows of 4. That's a total of 20 units. So I could figure that out also simply by taking 5 times 4. So again, let's go back and circle our answer. Keep this stuff separate. Keep that separate. Now we'll move on to area. So we say that there are 20 total square inches. We say square inches because this isn't simply the distance around the outside. It's actually little square units within the object. So there's our perimeter, there's our area. I would encourage you right now to pause, go on to number 2, and try it in the same way. We're looking for the perimeter and the area of each object. I'm going to go on in just a second, so pause if you want, if you can try to do it on your own. All right, so looking at number 2, again, my perimeter is the length plus the width plus the width. So here, my 2 lengths are 10 and 10. My 2 widths are 8 and 8. If I add those together, that's 20, 2 tens, plus 8 and 8 is 16. So if I add all those 4 numbers together, I get 36, we're not talking about units here, 36 inches. 36 inches for our perimeter, so you can ignore that little mistake. So the distance around the outside, or the perimeter, is 36 inches. But let's talk about the area, which is simply the length times the width. Here, remember, our length is 10, width is 8, so our area would be 80. Remember, we labeled this a little differently. 80 little square inches cover that rectangle. So let's actually look at this on the coordinate plane now. Let's look at this on the coordinate plane. So we're asked to consider these 2 points. We're asked to locate and label 4, 5 and -5, -3. So go ahead and plot those points on yours. Make sure you have that. And now let's go ahead and let's just label these just so we're certain of what these points are. So let's call this one, we know this is 4, 5. And then down here I have -5, 3. So it says determine how you could make a rectangle from these 2 points. Well, if this is a rectangle, right now it just looks like it could form a slanted line. So let's actually see if we can extend some lines off these points and try to make a rectangle. So if I extend a line here, this might look like it could be the top of my rectangle. If I extend a line here, now I find I've got one of the corners of my new rectangle. So I might think right there. I'm just going to keep extending lines. Remember, these are perpendicular lines off of my coordinates. And now I can see that I have a rectangle. It's right here. I'm going to shade that kind of dark. So all I did there was just extend the lines off of my rectangles to make that rectangular shape. So now I have a corner here and a corner here. So I've made my rectangle. So what are the names of these points? Well, we have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So that's left 5. And it looks like we go up 5. And then down here on the right, we go right 4, so that must be positive 4, and we go down 3, because it's negative 3. So I've mislabeled this one. This should be negative 3, so is this one, 4, negative 3. So it wants to know, what are the side lengths of the rectangle? Well, let's figure out here first, the top of it. Or not the top of it, but the side here. So we know we have to go a total of 3 units right here, right? 3 units. Then we have to go 5 units right there. So that total distance then, sorry, 5 units, I was adding a little quick in my head. So that means this whole thing from there to there, it's 8 tall. So we could say it's 8 units tall. We know that because we added the absolute value of 5 and 3. Now let's look at it from the bottom. So let's see here. We have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units this way. And then we have to go 1, 2, 3, 4 more units this way. So that's a total now, 5 plus 4. This whole length is 9. So it's 9 units, you might say, wide here. So that means if we were to draw this rectangle outside of the coordinate plane, it would look kind of like this from what we had on the earlier page. It would be 9 units wide and 8 units tall. All we had to do differently, though, is we had to plot the points and we had to count or add absolute values to figure out how long those sides are. So knowing this, we should be able to find the perimeter and the area of this object really easily. Just remind yourself, okay, if I'm finding the perimeter, I need to find the distance around the outside. So I have to have 2 of the lengths plus 2 of the widths. And if I find the area, all I do is just multiply the length times the width. So if you can, try to do this for this shape right here, just like we did on the other page. See what you can do, pause, and come back and check your work with what we have. All right, so I know the perimeter here is 8. Sorry, the length is not 8, nor is the perimeter. But the perimeter is going to be the longest side, that's my length, 9 and 9, plus 8 and 8. So that's a total of 18 is 2 9s, plus 16 is 2 8s. So the total perimeter of this thing is whatever 18 plus 16 is, which I'm pretty sure is 34. And here, you're not told inches or feet or anything, so we just say units. We're not told anything. We don't know if it's miles or whatever. So the distance around the outside is 34 units. All right, let's look at number 4. So this time we just have to find the area, or the amount of space it covers. And it looks like it would be 9 rows of 8. 9 rows of 8. So we do 9 times 8. And remember, it's area, so we measure it not just in regular units, but this would be 72 what we call square units. 72 square units. So on the very next page, you will see another example for you to try, kind of in the same way. You're given 2 coordinates on the solo attempt. Try to create your rectangle, and then try to find the perimeter and the area of that object. So go ahead and pause right now, do your solo attempt, come back, watch the video to see what the answer to the solo attempt leads you to. Okay, so the first thing I did was I got my points plotted on here for 1, -6, and -8, 6. So there's my 2 corners. Now I have to think about, well, how can I create a rectangle out of this? Well, what I like to do is think that these are the 2 opposite corners. That's not always going to be the case, but those look like they could be the 2 opposite corners of a rectangle. So if I do this, I got to make sure the lines are straight. So they need to follow the lines. So here's my rectangle. And I can stop as I get down here. So I've got it completed. There are my 2 new points. It looks like the top right point is over to the right 1 and up 6. So its coordinate is 1, +6. And down here, it looks like it's left 8 or -8. And then it goes down, -6. So there's my new points. So that's number 2. It asked me to label my other corners. So let's go ahead and go through here. So now I need to find my perimeter of the object and my area of the object. Remember, perimeter is length plus width plus width. And the area is different. It's just the length times the width. So let's figure out what the length and widths are. So here I know I have to go down 6. So this total length right here, that's 6. This one right here, that's also 6. So the total side length for this whole length, if I do the whole thing, I do one big bracket, It's 12 long. On the other side of things, we only have 1 to deal with here, and we have 8 to deal with here. So that must mean my total distance from there to there, if it's 1 followed by 8, I'm going to skip the work here. It must be 9. So we have a 12 by a 9 rectangle. It's 12 long and 9 wide. So that means I'm thinking 12 plus 12 plus 9 plus 9 for my perimeter, my distance around the outside. Or for the area, the amount of space it actually covers up like a rug, that's just going to be 12 rows of 9. So up here I end up with, this would be 24 if I double that, plus 18, so 24 plus 18. So my perimeter there must be, let's see, well, that's 8 and 4 would be 12, so 12 ones plus 3, this looks like it'd be 42. 42 units. And then here, 12 times 9, that's going to give me, well, 9 times 10, I know what that is, that's 90. So if I just add another 9, that's 90. So this one would be 108. And again, remember, area is measured a little differently. We say square units. So we've got our area, the amount of space it covers. We've got our perimeter. This is the distance around the outside of it. Around the outside of it.